Hello, EHAANHSOKET here. I am a woman who rose with a new leaf. I'm the voice of the one calling in the wilderness. I say that because I was born, my birthday is June 24th, 1978. And I just want to encourage everyone. And I have a story that I want to share. But before I share my story, I have a little trivia question here, and just wanted to share something. I don't know, just a little thing here from my little thing. We just say, so not all things that come from China are no good. Just wanted to say China has been a country, been a nation of people that have brought many innovations and inventions and things that people use today, and like paper, noodles. And in which country was fireworks invented? You guessed it, China. So I just wanted to okay, just a minute. I gotta take the vibrations off. Okay. All right, now I hope that vibrations shut off. Okay. I have a story, and my I had a son several years ago, and his name is Red Storyteller, EHAANHSOKET. EHAANHSOKET. He was born and died the same day. I had carried him a month too long. I had begged the doctors to have me, and I had begged the doctor to induce me, but he didn't think, so I needed to be induced, and the baby was 12 pounds 6 ounces, and the heartbeat was in the visit the week before, the heartbeat was very, very slow and very, very hard to find. And then the following week, the next visit, the heartbeat, there was no heartbeat, and they couldn't find a heartbeat, and it was really scary. It was really sad. And when they told me, when they couldn't find a heartbeat, and I'm sitting there like, where's the baby's heartbeat? And he died. There was no heartbeat, and I had carried him for 3 days, I believe. 2 days, because I went into my appointment on a Thursday, and I believe he died on the Tuesday, because I had this fever and this feeling and this weird feeling in that I didn't feel well, and then on Thursday I went to my doctor's appointment, and that's when I found out that my son had passed away, and I had to deliver him. It was the most hard thing that I had experienced. It was so painful. And when I had found out, I had delivered him, when I was delivering him, and during the birth, I remember being there okay, before the delivery. I'm sorry. Let me let's start from the beginning. And before I was pregnant, not before, while I was pregnant, I went on this thing at it was called an encounter at HWC, which is a church, Liberty church. I went on this encounter. It was an experience. I ended up was going to these classes, and I was studying and learning and getting closer to God and Creator, and getting and studying and learning about Him. And then my son and I remember just being there during that time, and I was praying that when I died, it's like and I was learning about the early church and the early Christians and all of that. And I learned about all the passion and the people that they had in the early believers, the ones that were there with Jesus, and right after Yeshua when he had died on that cross. And Yeshua, and I just remember thinking and hearing all these stories, and how they were so believing. Their faith was so strong that they didn't care what had happened. It's not that they didn't care, but it didn't matter what the world was throwing at them, whether they were being beaten, having to watch their kids being killed, or being murdered, dying, being stoned, being threatened. They were being persecuted and killed and everything, and being chased around. But people wouldn't give up their faith. They didn't give up what they believe. They were very passionate about what they did, and I wanted that kind of faith. I wanted that kind of belief. I wanted that belief. I wanted to have. I asked Creator. I said, Creator, I want to have that kind of belief, that passion that you are that these people in the early church had. I want to have that kind of belief where I don't care, and I want to know you. I want to have your presence in my life. I want to be able to hear you and be connected, and I want to have a relationship with you. I don't care what it cost. This was my prayer at that time. I don't care what it cost. You can take everything. You can take my kids. You can take this baby right now in my belly. You can take everything. That was what I prayed. I don't care. I just want to have a relationship and a connection with you that is so meaningful and so real that I would be willing to, that I wouldn't be scared of anything. I wouldn't be scared of death. I wouldn't be scared of what people would do to me or anything. I just want to have that passion. I want to have that passion for you and for people becoming free and that passion and that boldness to be able to proclaim Yeshua and what he's done for me and what he does. That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted, and that was my prayer. And I remember being there and praying that prayer. And I went on through my pregnancy after that, and I went on to the encounter classes. I went away for the weekend that we were supposed to go away, and it was an amazing time. And I heard from God and speaking to God, and God was speaking to me and being real with me. But but I didn't feel like everybody else that was there in that counter, that connection. My connection I felt with God was different. Um, you know, I could feel His presence, and I could feel Him delivering me and bringing me closer to Him. And in my life and in the stories and everything that happened at that time, I it was kind of scary. And when the when I had was at the doctor, and the heartbeat, there was no heartbeat, and the doctor told me that the baby's died, and that you're gonna have to keep you here and induce you, and you're gonna have to deliver this baby. And I was like, oh, I remember feeling sad. And I'm like, Creator, I don't know what it is you're doing here, Creator. But I'm gonna trust you. And my first thing that I did was call. I didn't even call my family. I didn't call my dad or mom or anybody. The first person I called was one of the elders in my church, and she's a mentor and a friend and a confidant, and somebody whom I really trust. And she's a beautiful lady, and you know who you are. But I called her first, and and it's funny that her name is Karen. And she was an amazing person, because she was able to pray with me there on the phone, and she had let my church family know what was going on. And they were able to, they came and came into my room where I was, and nobody left me alone. When I was originally found out that everything was going on, I was alone. I know Creator was with me, but I was alone. There was no one around. It was just me there after the doctor left, and I cried a little bit, and I prayed, and I asked Creator, I said, I don't know what it is you're doing, but I just pray that, what, I'm just gonna trust your plan, trust your purpose, trust everything that you're doing, because I know that you have a perfect plan, and your ways are higher than my ways, and your thoughts are higher than my thoughts, and I'm gonna trust your plan. There's no weapon formed against me that can prosper, and whatever it is that can come of this, and anything that was meant to destroy me, that you can turn it around for my good and your glory. Well, that was quite being there. And then my elders came, and they were there, and they were praying with me and praying. My stepmom had called me on the phone, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she was feeling upset, and she was really upset because there was a ceremony getting ready. They were getting ready to do rain dance ceremony. So she had sent my kids back, because they had taken my kids, so that for my pregnancy at the last part there could ease it a little bit. But she had sent the kids back, and because she needed to be there to get ready for ceremony and do all the stuff for the ceremonies and preparing, and she didn't want to have to be responsible for my kids during all of that, and that's fine. But she was feeling guilty, because this was on the eve of the ceremony that my son had died, and they were there, and they were having getting ready to have have a sweat and ceremony. And I called my mom, and I said, Mom, I said, don't feel bad. We just gotta trust that Creator has a plan, and it isn't anything that you did. You're not responsible for any life here on Earth. That's Creator. And I said, I just want you to go and to go and pray. Go and pray. Go to the lodge and pray the best way. And she goes, okay, that's what I'll do. I'll go and offer the cloths. And they went over there and had a naming ceremony for him. And she called me back, and after everything, and she called me and she told me at the naming ceremony that his name was EHAANHSOKET, and that there was a whole teaching and a story behind his name. And that's what I'm sharing right now. Behind his name is because, you know, it's a story right now. It's like right now, here we are in the middle of this corona pandemic. And there's a pandemic. Esther, this happened many years ago. He'd have been I think 6 years old now. But just so you know, Esther, I want you to see I have your blanket here that you sent me all the way from California, and I love it. It snuggles me, and but yeah, so my mom, she was feeling guilty, and they had the naming ceremony for him. And after she went and prayed, and I said, it's okay. And she's like, yeah. And the story behind his name, the teaching EHAANHSOKET, read storyteller. And it's so funny because there's a whole lot of stuff that goes behind his name. But this little part here is pretty powerful in the whole thing, what happened with his funeral and the whole journey, and being there in the hospital and finding out what his name means. That we can't take anything for granted. We can't take anything that we do for granted. We can't take our family and our friends and all this stuff. Like right now, we're in lockdown, and we're right now nations under quarantine because of this coronavirus that's going around, and this is showing us that really how precious life is here. How precious each moment is, because we don't know when things are going to change and how things are changing, and everything is changing so fast right now. And we got to enjoy every little moment that we have, every little blessing, every little thing, and look at what's important. Being a good mom, being a good wife, a good friend, a good sister, a good daughter, a good son, a good brother, a good father. That all these little moments, all these moments that we have are precious, and we shouldn't take it for granted. We shouldn't take each other for granted. We never know. Our time here on earth can be short, can be long, but we don't know. And for somebody else, for all those people that are around us, how when we have to say, see ya, when they're gonna go or when we're gonna go. Not walking in anger, going to bed angry, or being upset and bitter about things that aren't important because somebody called you something or hurt you. For being better to forgive, being humble enough to forgive anybody who hurts you, and not to be taken advantage of, not to be taken for granted, but you know, to forgive and to forgive ourselves for the stuff that we do, and for how we hurt, and you know, and that peace is more important than proving that you're right. Peace is more important than being right. You may be right about things, but you don't have to prove it. Creator will prove the truth. Creator will bring truth out, and Creator will justify things for you. Creator will look after things. Like when we were there up on that bridge and we shut down the bridge, we asked the police, we asked the border guards, we prayed and asked Creator to be with us, for His favor to surround us like a shield. We asked Creator, we put down our tobacco, we prayed, we asked Creator, and Creator was with us. He honored us, honored our prayers. We had that water ceremony. We prayed on a bridge. We had the border officials there with us, protecting us, making sure we are okay, keeping us safe, instructing us, you know, what's safe. And they shut down the bridge so that we could do the ceremony, and we could walk up on the bridge, and we could do our stuff and make our prayers. And then they allowed us to stay on the bridge and occupy the bridge, a part of the bridge, just to just to demonstrate a little bit inconvenience, just a little bit of an inconvenience, and you know, I count all my pain, you know, Esther, as joy. I count it all joy. Every suffering, every pain, everything that I've gone to, all the rape, all the beating, all the abuse, all the neglect, all of that. You know, I was abused from my teachers. I was abused at home. I was bullied by peers and friends. Growing up as a child, I didn't have many friends. I was alone a lot, and I was abused and neglected, and even abused and neglected by my teachers at school. And not all of them, but you know, I've had some bad experiences, but not going to go there now. I'm just saying, I count everything that has happened in my life. I count it all joy, and it's made me strong, and it's made me empathetic. It's made me care for people. It's helped me love people, and helped me to be an encouragement to people. So I'm glad for everything that I've gone through, and I know it's been difficult, but I'm glad for it all. When you know, my son died, after he died, I was there in a hospital, and the elders were there with me, and I was praying, and my mom, she came up there from the she came up. My parents came up to come and pick me up and bring me back home so I could have my son's funeral. So they came up to the hospital, and they came there and got me, and they came right away. And when they showed up that night and they came there, my room was filled with all these people from my congregation, and we were there at a prayer meeting and in a Bible study in the middle of my room, and I'm praying, and I just remember being happy and joyful, even though everything was going on, and all of the stuff that was going on. I just remember and praying in there in that hospital room with all them elders, and just praying for the peace that surpasses all of the chanting, and that the joy of the Lord is my strength, and that He's close to those who mourn, and that just been prayed for that peace that surpasses all understanding to come and enter in, and that Creator will use this situation for His good and His glory, and just trusted everything that He would do, and that He would do it. And the amazing thing is that we were there and we were praying, and there was a lot of prayers and praying for everybody at home, and just praying for me that I would just trust Creator's plan and all of this, and trust and just be able to trust God, that no matter what happens, that He has me. And after they did the autopsy, and we did a cedar bath and washed the baby and all this kind of stuff. We had to sit there and wait for so long, because they did an autopsy on the baby, because the baby died because he was stressed, because he was too big. He didn't have enough room inside. He was 12 pounds 6 ounces, and I had to deliver him. And when I delivered him, and I remember making the decision, to have an epidural, because I thought, why should I go through the pain of childbirth if my baby is not going to be alive? And I remember being there in that room and hearing people and hearing ladies give birth to their babies, and their babies were crying and alive, and I just remember sitting there. I said, I don't know if you're going to resurrect my baby. I know you can, but I'm just going to trust that whatever it is you're doing, and I'm just going to trust. And this whole thing really had brought me closer and grew my passion. I remember when I was traveling home with my dad in the car, and I had the baby. Was in a little styrofoam cooler in the trunk on ice, like a slab of meat, like a roast on ice, like a slab of meat. And I just remember thinking how surreal it was that my son was there in a cooler, and I'm sitting in the front seat, and he's there in the back seat, and yeah, it was kind of strange, I wasn't carrying him. And I remember holding him when I held him in the hospital. And when I held him in the hospital, he was very so nice and warm and snuggly and cuddly. And when I held him in the hospital after giving birth to him, and giving birth to him was hard, because as I asked for that epidural, the epidural didn't take. I was like half kind of frozen. And I said, I'm going to take this epidural, because I thought, I didn't want to go through the pain of giving birth to a baby that's already dead. So I started, and they induced me. The epidural wouldn't take, and so I was like half kind of frozen. And when you're giving birth to a dead baby, babies that are that is alive, a stillborn baby, it's harder to deliver a stillborn baby, because a baby that is alive helps go through the birth canal and helps push themselves through the birth canal, and turn their bodies and all this kind of stuff. It's built into the baby to help deliver. And so here I'm trying to, and I'm delivering this baby, and half frozen. Half of my from down there was throat frozen, and that made it a lot more painful than if I hadn't been frozen, because it was made it really, really hard to try and give birth, because well, they had to break his neck and his shoulder, because he got stuck. They had to, and then pushing him out, it was really, really painful. It hurt so bad, and I couldn't push properly because I'm half numb and half not numb, and it was really, really, really painful. And then after I had given birth, and after everything had happened, and they cleaned him, and I got to hold him, and I got to hold him, and he was so warm and cuddly and snuggly, but there was no life in his body, and it was sad, but I was glad too, because I know that he didn't have to suffer here on this earth, and the only thing he ever knew was a warm and safe place. The only thing he ever heard was his mama's voice and heartbeat, and that's all he's known. Was that safe place. His mom's heartbeat, his mom's prayers, and his mom's love for Creator, love for God. And driving home the 8 hours with my son to back to the reserve to have his funeral. My parents said that I could have the funeral in their home, and I was like, oh wow, really? Yeah, and they said I could do the funeral how I wanted to do the funeral. And my parents, during that time, before all of this, were very traditional ceremony people, and they are still very traditional ceremony people, rain dance family, spiritual kind of family, and beautiful. But I was a believer, and I followed Jesus, and things that was hurtful. I've had my Bible thrown at me, and then told me, you and your God. And my son sitting on the couch, little boy, watching the Bible on TV, and he was so happy and proud, that he's like watching the Bible, and he was so happy and watching it, and there was fighting, and I don't know, some kind of sword fighting or whatever it was going on the TV. Some kind of battle that had happened, and my mom said to him, she goes, "What are you doing watching that bad stuff? People just killing each other. What kind of God does that? Lets people kill each other?" Eh? And my son felt, he was so happy and proud. And then after that, I was there and I saw him, and I could just see his little heart broke. And I grabbed him and took him to the room, because when we were there living in the house, we were believers. We would go in the room. We would have church in our room. It was the only place, it was our sanctuary, because I was living in the room with all my kids in my parents' house, because I had to leave Toronto. And this was after my son. just kind of the stuff, that I had faced. They would say you and your God, or get your God out of here. Uh, that's not our way. Um, I was a trader called Pocahontas, called all kinds of things, and I still love my family, and it's still there, and despite my believing, I still pray, I still love them, and I still hope that they would come to know Jesus, because he found me there, and that's what he was there with me in those ceremonies. He was there with me while I was getting raped and being taken advantage of and being abused and being neglected. He was there with me during all of that, and I won't let him go. And this is when I say that my family let me have my son's funeral. I just want to let you know that what a big thing it was, because I'm kind of like the black sheep. I don't really fit in with my family. I've always been set apart, different, not really like anyone else. And I never fit in anywhere. I never fit in at school. I never fit in a lot of times with peers. I never fit in even a lot of times with church, even with other people. And I have friends or whatever that I can connect with, and I have mentors and people that I love, and I love everyone. I really do have a passion for people, and for people coming to freedom, and for people coming to know Creator. I want people to know Creator. I want people to have a real relationship and a real connection with the Creator, who I know cares and loves. Because I've gone through a lot, and Creator's allowed me to go through a lot, and the enemy has tried to destroy me and snuff my light many, many times. I struggle with depression. I'm suicidal often. And I struggle with addiction, with some addictions. And I struggle with pornography. I struggle with complaining. I struggle with a lot of things, and a lot of these things that I struggle with are from a lot of the trauma that I faced growing up, from being born to and growing up, and even in the last while. But Creator is there with me. Creator helps me. He delivers me, and He is delivering me, and will deliver me. And when I had my son's funeral in the house, I just in my parents' home, I just remember asking, and they said, "Oh, who do you want?" I said, "Oh, I'm gonna have Shirley come over." And she thought I meant Shirley Shigwaja. And Shirley Shigwaja is a beautiful lady. She's a deaconess in our community there, and you're much beloved. And I love her so much. But I wanted my mumby, Shirley Hamilton. She's the founder and director of Daystar Native Outreach, and I'd asked her to come out and do my son's funeral, and I did a Christian kind of service, blessing funeral, and I'd ask my friend, my mom be there to come and share. And some people came playing music and singing. We sang some worship songs, and in the funeral, and there was so many people there, so many traditional people, so many people that wouldn't normally listen or go to church or listen uh, to somebody, to listen to preaching, listen to um, and I remember being there, and my mom, when she came to me, she goes to me, she said to me, "How are you doing?" Oh, I said, I'm doing good. I said, I'm good. I said, and she goes, "You shouldn't be good." I said, "Yeah, yes, I'm good. I should be. I trust God. I trust Creator's plan." And so many traditional people were there, and they heard the gospel message. And it's not so much that they heard the message, and the message was good. And then my dad spoke afterwards, and spoke with the feather, and spoke some things, and spoke some, and it was really neat because I there was so many people there, so much of the rain dance family was there, and so many people. I couldn't believe it. I was like so amazed, and it just felt so loved. uh, Going from Toronto, from my spiritual family in Toronto, to another traditional spiritual family on the reserve, and it was so beautiful that they got to hear some words from God's word and hear some teaching on that. And while I was there, I was singing, and I was singing, "How great is our God." Sing with me, how great is our God. All will see how great is our God. He's a name above all names. He is worthy of all praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. And another song I was singing was Desert Song. But when I was there and I was singing, and I just remember I was like, I had the biggest, hugest smile on my face, lifting up my hands, praising and singing so loud, and it was pretty beautiful. And I just remember having this joy and having this peace and having all of this, and just trusting that this is or everything that God had for me, and that Creator used that time to be able to share the message with people who would normally have heard the message in such a unique, kind, loving way, because it was so loving and beautiful, and how Creator had used my son's death to bring people closer to Him, and even to have them hear and think and maybe challenge them a little bit. And it was just pretty profound. And when I think about it, um, after the funeral and after everything, we went to and buried my son and put him in the ground. And then we came back and we had a big feast. And there was like a big, huge feast, so much food, and so many people there. And I had a moment where I was sitting down at the table, and this woman named Karen. This is where I find out, because the first person that I had talked to and asked and prayed with was a woman, was a one of my spiritual elders. Um, her name was Karen. Uh, my godly spiritual elder, and Yeshua. And then this other Karen. She was also a spiritual elder of mine. From the traditional. She was a traditional, and she did water ceremonies, and was a water walker, and was water protector, and she taught me this. She did a cedar bath for me one time, and had me do a ceremony, and help me connect with that little girl inside me that had lost all her power, and she helped me reconnect, with that. Before hunting, before all of this, but at my son's funeral, and she was there, and I talked to her, and we were talking, and she said to me, she goes, I don't know, like, how can you be so happy and joyful, and I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, you just lost your son, and after everything, you've gone has happened, you lost your son, and I don't understand how you're able to sing with such joy and such peace and such passion. And I said to her, I said, God, Creator, Jesus, His joy is my strength. He is my joy, and His joy gives me strength. And I have peace in knowing the Creator, the universe, and what Jesus does for me every day, and what He's done for me, and all He does for me. He's the source of my peace. And as all of what has happened to me, what I have gone through, and my struggle, all of that, all the things that I dealt with, because you helped me, you helped in my healing with that. Creator brought you in my life to help me in the healing with that. And I said, you're here right now, watching me, and watching Creator working in my life, and helping me through this difficult time. And His peace and His joy is sustaining me and helping me. And I just prayed that for all of this, that I trust Creator and His plan for everything and what He's doing. And that's where my peace comes from. My peace comes from knowing that Creator's in control. Complaining or anything, it's not gonna do anything, and I'm gonna take this and count it all joy. Count it, and it's such a blessing to experience pain, to experience suffering, to experience all this kind of stuff, because to experience such a blessing to have gone through what I've gone through. I feel so privileged. I'm so happy, and I count it joy, and I'm like, I thank you, Creator, for choosing me, for giving me the strength, and for growing my strength, and for allowing me and everything that I've gone through. And you renewed a right spirit within me. You created me a clean heart, and you created me a steadfast spirit, and that I'm steadfast. I'll never let go. I never let go of Creator. And despite everything that I've gone to, because Creator has brought me through it all. Creator has helped me, He heals me, He shows me, He's teaching me. In my story right now, I don't know who it's helping. I don't know who it's encouraging. But I just know that Karen, I trust that she's there waiting, because after that day, I mean, at that time, at that table, at that picnic table, in that conversation, she asked me to pray with her. And she asked me to pray with her, and she surrendered her life to Jesus, to Yeshua. She asked Jesus to come into her heart, because she had told me she had been so resistant because of what the residential schools and what the priests and what people who call themselves Christians have done to our people, to the indigenous people. And I know that indigenous people have suffered, and that's why I call us right now the new Israel, because since 1492 we have been wrestling with God, and Israel means wrestles with God, and we are in the new world, and this was called a new world since 1492, the new world. And Christopher Columbus, and they were lost and confused and starving and sick, and came to our shores and found peoples beautiful and rich and healthy and good, and living in a land that with beauty and riches beyond they could ever think, dream, or imagine. And you know, this is you know, we invite people, and we invited and we helped. We offered food and gave medicine and helped them heal, and now we've been wrestling with God ever since. As people have come here in God's name, saying they can take this and take that and claim this and claim that and do this, that they have every right to do anything and treat people however they want, just because they can, because we're heathens, savages. Meanwhile, we were living in a way that was honoring to Creator. Creator, give us a way to live. We never took more than we needed. We lived in balance. We had wars, we had battles, we fought, we were human. But generally, for the most part, indigenous people lived in peace and lived in health and prosperity, and lived on the land for millennia For hundreds of thousands of years, they lived here in the North Americas and survived. Vikings came, they left. Then eventually in 1492, we've been wrestling then. That's why I say we're the new Israel. My son is his name is Red Storyteller, EHAANHSOKET. And the red story, I say, there's even another part to another part of my son's story that's even more powerful. Um, and I'll save that part for another time. And I just wanted to say that that lady, she prayed, and she gave her heart to Jesus, and I was able to pray with her and read from the Bible and pray, and it was really kind of an amazing experience and a time to have with her and have that conversation with her. And 2 years later, I'm gonna say 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, that lady, she died. She had an aneurysm burst, and she died 2 weeks later. It was and I believe, that everything that had happened was for her. And my son died, and his death allowed somebody to come and enter into kingdom. And I don't know how many other people right now can hear this story and hear the words and be encouraged. And everything you go through, if you trust God and surrender it to Creator can turn something that seems so ugly and turn something like death or something that is meant to cause you pain and destruction, and turn it around for something that for His good and His glory. I know I'm going to see her. It's my prayer. It is my prayer that the indigenous people would come to Yeshua and know Yeshua's saving grace, know His freedom, know Him, and come to know Him. I pray for all nations to come to know who Yeshua is. I know that as I pray for all the nations and look and pray to all the nations, that our nations and my nation is included in all nations. So, and as I pray I'm praying for right now our nation, as there's a lot of this uncertainty that's going on, and my son EHAANHSOKET, red storyteller. EHAANHSOKET means red storyteller, and Daniel, and his other name is Daniel. EHAANHSOKET Daniel Kaboni, and EHAANHSOKET means red storyteller, and the red. Right now I'm telling his story, and right now I think God is my and Daniel means God is my judge or strength. And Kaboni is a smooth landing, like a field, like a nice open, beautiful open field. I pray right now that as this nation is going through a difficult season and a difficult time, that that no matter what's going on, that no matter all of this stuff, no matter all these things, that we don't need to be afraid, we don't need to be scared. You can be encouraged and trust that Creator has everything well in hand, and that Creator is looking after everything, and that despite what happens, as long as you trust Creator, we're all You can have that peace that surpasses all understanding no matter what. You can have the joy of the Lord. And, like, yeah, I may cry and have tears, but every single one of those tears Creator has and is collecting them. And he knows every single tear. Because He cries every single tear that I cry. Creator is here in me, and He experiences everything I feel. He knows everything that's going on. He knows every hair on my head. All my sins and all the stuff and all the mistakes are greater than the hairs on my head. So it says in the Word. But you know what? He knows every single hair in my head. He knows everything that I'm gonna do. He knew every hair that would come and go and fall out and turn gray. Turn silver and gray like my gray hairs here, because grandma, my wisdom hairs. Yeah. And I'm praying right now for our nation, that people would come to know and come to have peace and not be scared and still have the joy of the Lord. And say, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Yeah, just remember that. Because his joy is our strength. And I'm so glad that I have this story to be able to share. And I'm so glad that I'm going to see my son and my other kids that are there in heaven. I'm going to see them. And yeah, I was I'm a grandmother now. And I love my grandson. He's so the cutest. And I love my kids. And I love my grandkids and my stepsons and my stepdaughter. They're all my kids, and I love them all so much. And I really do love everybody. And though some people make me upset or hurtful, and I'm not gonna talk to you, some people, just because it's toxic and it's not healthy for me to be around people that are just not there to lift me up or encourage me. So I'm here sharing, and I share my story a little bit, and I hope that encourages you. Creator, I just ask Creator that you just come here and just come into the lives of people and everybody that may be watching this and just that may watch this. I just pray and ask that you just come and enter in, that your spirit of peace. I just call out anything right now that is not of you, Yeshua, that is not of your spirit, not of your thing, any fears, any spirits operating in anybody's home right now. I just call it out by the name and the power and the blood of Jesus. And I ask that you just, and that your Holy Spirit would just come and sweep throughout the whole place and clean it and call everything out, and that your Holy Spirit would just fill every nook and cranny and crevice, and just feel that your spirit of peace that surpasses all understanding, that the joy and the love would come and enter in and move throughout the house, that your love and wisdom would guide the actions of everybody in the homes of those that are watching and of those that are all around them, and that you bless the hands of those and bless their hands to prosper, that there's no weapon formed against them that can prosper, that they are ahead and not the tail, above and not beneath, that you have plans, that you have a plan and a purpose for everybody, not to harm them but to give a hope in the future. I just pray, God, for that peace. That's why I pray for that peace that surpasses all understanding, really to come enter in. Ask Creator that you would move the mountains in people's lives and remove those fears, and that you would plant seeds of hope in good soil. I just pray, God, for the scales from the people's eyes to remove, so that they can be able to see and receive the truth. I pray for for people's dealing for spirits of depression. I just call it out right now. And for loneliness and despair and hopelessness, I call it out all right now and be gone. And I just pray that you would replace it with a spirit of hope and comfort and peace and love and wisdom and joy, that all, and then the kindness and self-control and discipline will all come and enter in and move, and the spirit of truth would come and operate in people's hearts. We just call out right now that the lies of the enemy, any of those lies that are whispering, and just ask God that your still small voice would be louder than the enemy's roars. I pray for that peace. I pray for I pray that that people will really receive new leaves of healing in their life, that they would have that peace, and that I pray that you apply the blood of the doorway over the doorposts of the hearts of all those that believe, and that right now that all of that the spirit of death will come over, and that for all those that believe, that spirit of death will just pass over, and that and I just ask God for the emancipation, and that for your plan. And I ask, Creator, that you would bless the leaders in the nation and help them and be with them and encourage them and help them to make the decisions that we need. And I just pray that for everyone will be able to follow the leaders, those leaders and health professionals and authorities. I pray for all the health authorities, for the health authorities to be able to make the wise decisions and the right decisions, to wait and move forward. And Creator, we know that you are in control, that there's nothing, that your word goes out and accomplishes what it's going to do, and it come back and it never comes back void, that you're going out and doing, and that you're working out the plans, that you're working out the details. We just cancel any plans that the enemy may have for destruction, and just cancel any plans right now, the enemy, and just ask, Creator, for your will, and that your ways be done. Ask for any stumbling blocks in the people's lives to be removed. And Creator, and ask that you would lift people up who are feeling down and discouraged. So just pray for that your spirit of encouragement come up, and that a right word and a time would come, and that you would operate in people's lives in the way, and ask for your Holy Spirit to move. And I thank you, Creator, for all that you do. You do more than I could think, dream, or imagine. In your protection, I pray for your favor to surround everybody that is believing this like a shield, and that you will protect them and keep them safe, that you will be their strong tower, that you will anoint their head with oil and cover them, that you will fill their cups to overflowing, that they will not lack, Lord, and that they will be able to be mindful of what they do and make wise decisions and not be wasteful. I just pray that they would be able to honor everything, and be blessed to be a blessing, and be encouraged to be an encourager, to be loved, to be loving, to be kind, to be suited, and receive kind, to be kind. I just ask God that as you care for us, that you will help us to care for others, that as we believe in you, we know that you believe in us, and that you created all this life not for destruction, but for life, for purpose, and for wisdom, and for love, and for connection and relationship. And right now that this virus wants to kind of keep everybody isolated, but I just know that they're not alone, although they may feel that there aren't people around them, but that they are not alone. And for those elders and people like that are stuck out there and alone, I just ask, Creator, that you just be with them and help them, encourage them, and give them the strength to carry on and go forth, that people will not be afraid and not be just ask. Yes, and I thank you, Creator, for all that you do. And Creator, my heart goes out right now for those that are stuck in sex trafficking, and for those that are trapped in situations. And I thank you, God, that, this shutdown or whatever may be working and stopping a lot of the activity. A lot of things that would normally be going on is not going on so much. And thank you, God. And I just ask for the relief, and I ask that for those that are hurting and stuck in situations and in vulnerable situations, that Creator, you would make your spirit known to them in their lives, and that you would reveal yourself and show that and help them to see that they're not alone. That they are not alone. That people would know that they are not alone. And that, Creator, you would make your spirit known for anybody that's feeling hopeless and despair in all of this. I just pray, God, that your spirit, that you would make your presence known to them. Surround them with the comfort. And that you would bring the comforter and the wonderful counselor. And that you would deliver them out of their situations that they're in. And that maybe all of this stuff that is going on with this coronavirus is good. I thank you, God, for all that you're doing through this. Although it may seem like it's scary, I trust you, Creator, and know that you're in control. That you're doing something wonderful here in all of this. And that this is for our good and your glory. And that all that is going on, that people are opening their eyes and drawing closer to you and coming to know you, Creator. Thank you, Jimmy Gwetch. All my relations, Nahal, Miging, Marcicho, Migwetch. Amen.